Around 5 hours into the session, we pick up pocket sixes in a main game. We're already up over $500. The lineup is soft and passive, but the pots we won weren't too large, so nothing too noteworthy has happened, especially compared to what's to come. The under the gun player limps in with a short stack. We raised a 40 from the hijack. The button calls, the big blind calls, and the under the gun player calls. We're going 4 ways to the flop. It's king 10-6 with 2 spades. We flop bottom set with multiple opponents. The big blind checks. Under the gun is a real go-getter. He takes it upon himself to bet 100 for us. This opponent only has 135 behind. I should be able to get it all in with him no matter what. I'm more focused on trying to keep the other opponents with larger stacks in the hand, even though there are plenty of draws. I flat to avoid scaring off the players behind me. The button and big blind unfortunately fold. It's down to heads up with the short stack opponent. The turn is the deuce of hearts. It's hard for there to be a blanker card than that one. Under the gun only has one move. You guessed it, it's the Macarena. Back to poker though, under the gun has very few chips left and can't really do anything other than shove. He rips it in for 135 total. We immediately call with plans to stack the 8 seat. If the opponent only has a top pair type of hand, without 2 spades, we'll already have him drawing dead. Once the dealer's ready, she puts out the 8 of clubs on the river. It helps the opponent improve to 2 pair with his king 8 of spades. It's not good enough though, we've got him beat with our set. Under the gun flop top pair with a flush draw and couldn't hit any additional spades. We come away with the victory. It's too bad the opponent didn't have more chips because we could have won a much larger pot on that run out. In this one, we've got pocket 10s in the big blind. Under the gun +1 raises to 30. He's a vlog watcher named Barris from Germany. Against an early position raiser, we won't be 3-betting since the opponent's range will be extremely narrow. I call for 20 more. We're heads up out of position. The flop comes ace queen 6 rainbow. We completely brick it and don't want much else to do with the hand since there are 2 overs out there. I check. The opponent gives us a free card with a check back. We make the most of our freedom by drilling the 10 of hearts on the turn. We spike a hidden set. No more checking. I bet 40. The opponent calls quickly without thinking much about it. We probably have him crushed. The river is the deuce of clubs. It's a terrific card since the flush draw misses. I'm like Peter Gibbons in Office Space after a session of hypnosis. I'm completely carefree at work as I bet 130 in order to get maximum value. Barris is very scared. He even says so.
Yeah,
The opponent min raises to 260. Anytime someone does something with their chips that isn't consistent at all with what they just said, don't believe the lies that your opponent is telling you. Believe the story that the chips are telling you.
Says he's so scared and then he raises.
Barris will receive no Oscar for his performance on this night. He clearly has a monster. I wouldn't be surprised to see a straight or a better set. There's some slight chance that he's doing this with top 2 pair. I'm never folding a set for only 130 more, but I don't feel good about it.
I call.
The opponent has pocket aces. We get set over set in a huge cooler. At least we don't get punished too badly.
Yeah, that's sick. Nice hand, nice hand.
Oh, that was mine.
There you go.
Barris is happy that he wrecked my world and made the vlog in the process. We're still up about 650. Now it's time for pocket aces in the hijack. Under the gun +1 raises to 30. The player on his left calls. We're in a dream situation. I 3-bet to 140. It's a big sizing. Still, it's not too large for the 2 players who have already voluntarily put in chips. They both call for 110 more. We're going 3 ways to the flop in position. It's 3 deuce deuce with 2 clubs. The opponent's check. We've got a great flop for us. There's very little to be worried about other than the flush draw. One or both opponents will likely have an overpair to the board, but it won't be over enough. I bet 240 to string him along. Under the gun +1's having a very difficult time deciding what to do. He doesn't have too much left in his stack. He takes inventory and looks like he's considering shoving for around 1300 total. Instead, he thinks better of it and folds. The middle position player has had plenty of time to consider what he wants to do. He's not ready to give up just yet. He calls. We've got a big pot building up. The opponent and I both started the hand pretty deep. The turn is the queen of diamonds, putting another flush draw out there. We at least have the ace of diamonds, so it's not too concerning. The middle position player checks. We're not letting him see a free card for a cheap price of free. I bet 600. The opponent folds immediately. He probably had a small to medium pocket pair and didn't like seeing the queen on the turn. The night is going well, particularly if you consider the fact that we got set over set in a hand earlier and are still up over $1,000 on the session. I'd like to keep it going. Next we're dealt 9-7 suited in the hijack. The player on my right limps in for 10. If you've never punished a limper before, I highly recommend trying it out. It's a lot of fun. I raised a 40 to do just that. I want to play a hand heads up in position. The middle position player grants our wish and calls for 30 more. The flop comes King Jack 7 with 2 diamonds. The opponent checks. We've got some value and don't need to turn our bottom pair into a bluff. I check back. The turn is the 9 of spades, giving us a hidden 2 pair. The opponent bets 50. There are a variety of hands that are beating us, but we're probably best. We need to get more money in now before another diamond or another Broadway card comes out. Even an 8 would be bad, and another king or jack would counterfeit our 2 pair. I raised to 150. I don't want to see a re-raise. The middle position player is okay sticking around for 100 more. He calls. The river is the 4 of diamonds. It's a bad card for us. The opponent checks. They're not going to be firing. I check back. The opponent says that he has ace high. I tell him that he's no good, but I don't want to show if I don't have to. He turns over ace 10 offsuit so that he can get some information out of me because he doesn't want to wait for the flog to come out to see what I had. Our 2 pair is good. The opponent called our raise on the turn with 1 over and a gutter. He was drawing slim. Winning this one actually gets us back above the even mark. We're winning $140 total. It'll take winning at least one more big pot for us to get back to our high point of the session though. I rebuy for another $1,500 and pick up pocket aces and the hijack. The hand after I got stacked, I flopped trips in a bomb pot, then the board ran out with 4 to the flush, and I had to check fold to a river bet, so I'm down $1,700 total on the night. I'm looking for revenge against the entire table. We've got the hand to do it with, and what's even better is that the table agreed to do a round of straddle, so it's 5-10-20 right now. I raised to 60. Brandon is in the small blind. He calls. He got me to fold my 10s, then also backdoored the straight against my top 2 pair. He's a good candidate for me to get revenge against. We're heads up in position. The flop comes 10-8-4 with 2 spades. We've got the ace of spades, so I'm not all that concerned about the flush draw. Small blind checks. I just bluffed off piles of chips, and I'm way down from the high point. I want to capitalize on my image. It should appear like I'm unraveling and ready to bluff off my entire stack once more. When you have strong hands and it looks like you might be tilting, it's easier to get paid when you bet large amounts for value. I bet 150 into a pot of 155. The small blind is perplexed about the size. Still, he tank calls. It seems like maybe he has a 10. The turn is the 5 of diamonds, putting the diamond flush draw on the board also. We have the ace of diamonds, so I'm not really worried about being up against that flush draw either. The small blind checks. We've got 1,075 in our stack. If we had a hand like ace x of spades or ace x of diamonds, I'd overbet shove as a bluff with equity. I announce that I'm all in here for almost 2.5 times the size of the pot. It should look like I've just lost my mind, and I may get called very light. If the opponent has a 10, he should probably be calling. Also, if he has a 10, then I really want as much money in now as possible anyway because the opponent won't be able to call a big river bet if an overcard comes out unless he improves the 2 pair. He probably won't want to see diamonds or spades come out either if he doesn't make a flush himself. Cards like 9s, 7s, and 6s could also be bad. The small blind is very suspicious that I'm just tilt blasting off. I mean, there's definitely an element of revenge mode, but in this case, we actually have it, so it's almost reverse revenge mode. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. The opponent is very deep in the tank. Call one time, please. Yeah, I try to stay a step or 2 ahead of people who watch the vlog, otherwise I'd be in lots of trouble. The opponent thinks that he may have me beat, but he folds 10-9 of clubs face up.
Nice fold.
The opponent gets away from top pair with no kicker. We don't get the double up that we were hoping for. We still win a medium-sized pot. We just didn't quite get the home run and are still stuck piles. Time to get out of here. The heater is seemingly over, at least for now.